Hold still for a moment, because something you believed was over is quietly finding its way back to you. Not by accident. Not by coincidence. And certainly not without reason. The one you thought had disappeared into silence. The one who drifted away when your heart still carried unfinished questions. The one whose absence forced you to become stronger than you ever wanted to be. They are returning. Unexpectedly. Suddenly. Almost like a storm that forms in a clear sky. And what they are preparing to confess may change the way you understand every painful moment that came before. Because this return is not casual. It is not random nostalgia. It is not boredom, loneliness, or convenience. No, this return carries weight. They have crossed through something deep. Something internal. A battle you could not see while you were busy wondering why they vanished, why they withdrew, why they let distance grow where closeness once lived. But listen carefully. Their silence was never the full story. There were truths buried beneath their distance. Truths they were too afraid to speak when they first walked away. And now, those truths are rising. You may feel it already. That strange shift in your energy. That restless intuition. That quiet knowing that someone who once mattered is thinking of you again. Because they are. More than you realize. While you were rebuilding yourself. While you were learning to smile without their presence. While you were teaching your heart how to survive without the closure it deserved. They were watching from afar. Wondering if they had made the greatest mistake of their life. Here is what no one told you. Sometimes people leave not because love is absent. But because the love feels too powerful for the version of them that exists in that moment. Some people run when they encounter something real. Not because they do not care. But because they care so deeply it terrifies them. And that is the confession forming inside their chest right now. They are ready to admit that losing you did not free them. It haunted them. Every distraction failed. Every attempt to replace your energy failed. Every effort to convince themselves they had moved on collapsed in private. Because what they found after leaving you was that your absence echoed louder than your presence ever did. Think about that. They had to lose your warmth to understand its value. They had to sit in rooms full of noise to realize none of it sounded like peace. They had to search through unfamiliar faces only to discover they were secretly comparing everyone to you. And now they are carrying a truth they can no longer ignore. No matter where they went. Part of them remained with you. But wait. The most shocking part is not that they are returning. It is why they are returning now. Because something has changed inside them. A realization. A breaking point. A moment of clarity that shook them awake. Perhaps it came late at night. Perhaps in silence. Perhaps after another disappointment forced them to confront what they lost. However it happened. They finally saw the truth. You were never just another connection. You were the one who touched parts of their soul they had hidden from the world. And that kind of connection does not disappear simply because someone walks away. It waits. It lingers. It pulls. Even when pride resists. Even when fear delays. Even when time stretches longer than expected. And now the pull has become stronger than their resistance. They can no longer pretend they feel nothing. They can no longer silence the voice inside that whispers your name when the world grows quiet. They can no longer deny what your connection meant. So they are coming back with words they once lacked courage to say. Words they rehearsed in their mind 100 times but never sent. Words heavy with regret. Heavy with truth. Heavy with vulnerability. They are preparing to confess that they were afraid. Afraid of how deeply they felt. Afraid of what loving you required. Afraid of becoming fully seen by someone who understood them beyond the mask. Because you saw them. Even when they hid behind distance. Even when they acted detached. Even when they tried to appear unaffected. You saw through it. And that terrified them. Because being truly seen changes everything. But hear this clearly. Their return is not merely about apology. It is about awakening. They have come to understand something most people realize too late. Rare souls are not easily replaced. Real connection is not easily found twice. And when destiny offers someone a bond that stirs their entire being, walking away does not erase it. It only teaches them what life feels like without it. So if the air around you feels different lately, if memories have resurfaced for no reason, if your spirit has sensed movement before your eyes have seen proof, trust that feeling. Something is unfolding. Someone is gathering courage. Someone is rehearsing a truth they never thought they would admit. And when they finally stand before you, their confession may not begin with grand poetry. It may begin with trembling honesty. With simple words. I never stopped thinking about you. I was afraid. I thought leaving would help me forget. But it only showed me what you meant to me. Stay with this story, because what they confess next will reveal why their return could transform everything between you. But listen closely, because when they finally speak, the first confession will only be the beginning. What follows after that may leave you speechless. Because your soulmate is not returning merely to admit they missed you. They are returning to reveal what truly happened inside them after they lost you. And the truth is far deeper than longing. They are ready to confess that after walking away, nothing unfolded the way they expected. They believed distance would make their emotions fade. They believed time would weaken the connection. They believed they could outrun the intensity of what they felt for you. Instead, time sharpened it. Distance magnified it. And every day apart became another lesson in what your presence had truly meant. There were moments when they laughed with others, yet still felt empty. Moments when life looked fine from the outside, yet inside, something remained unfinished. Moments when your memory arrived uninvited. Through a song, a place, a passing thought. A quiet night when no distraction could drown out the truth. And the truth was this. They did not lose feelings for you. They lost peace after losing you. Pause there for a second. Because not everyone admits that. Not everyone has the courage to return after pride has kept them silent. Not everyone can face the person they hurt and confess, I was wrong. But they are reaching that point now. The walls they built around their emotions are cracking. And here is the confession they have feared most. They are ready to admit they sabotaged something beautiful because they did not yet know how to receive love that was genuine. Read that again in your spirit. Some people are familiar with chaos. Some are used to uncertainty, mixed signals, emotional games. And when something real enters their life, steady, deep, honest, it feels unfamiliar. Unfamiliar can feel dangerous to the unhealed mind. So instead of embracing what was right, they retreat from it. Not because it lacks value. Because it has too much. That is what happened here. Your love confronted them with a version of themselves they had not yet healed enough to become. You inspired them, but also exposed their fears. You made them feel safe, but also vulnerable. You awakened hope in them. And hope frightened them because hope creates the possibility of loss. So they ran before they could be left. They distanced before they could be hurt. They broke what mattered before it could break them. And now they understand what they did. That understanding has humbled them. That understanding has transformed them. And when they return, their energy will feel different. Not perfect. Not magically flawless. But more honest. More grounded. More aware. Because pain has taught them what comfort never could. You may notice it immediately. In the way they look at you longer than before. In the way their voice softens when speaking to you. In the way their usual defenses seem to disappear. Why? Because they are no longer trying to hide. For the first time, they are preparing to stand before you without pretense. And there is another confession they are carrying. One they have barely admitted to themselves. They are afraid you may no longer want them. Yes, the person who once seemed distant. The one who acted unaffected. The one who made it appear as though leaving was easy. They now fear they may have returned too late. They wonder if your heart has moved on. They wonder if someone else now holds the place they abandoned. They wonder if the door they once walked away from has quietly closed forever. And that fear is forcing them to become brave. Because sometimes people do not speak until they realize silence may cost them everything. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt a connection return after distance, leave your story in the comments. And if this message speaks to your spirit, stay connected, because some messages arrive exactly when they are needed most. But do not mistake their return for mere emotion. This is deeper than nostalgia. They are returning because they have recognized your connection was not temporary. It was transformational. You changed them. Even in absence. Even in silence. Even without trying. Your departure from their daily life forced them to confront themselves. Forced them to mature. Forced them to recognize patterns they could no longer blame on others. And now they understand. Meeting you was never random. Losing you was never casual. Returning to you is not a light decision. It is one made after inner conflict, sleepless nights, repeated hesitation, and countless moments of wondering whether they deserve another chance. But there is still one final truth they have not spoken yet. One truth more powerful than apology. More vulnerable than regret. More life-changing than anything they have confessed so far. Because when they reveal why they could never fully let you go, you will understand that this connection affected them far more than they ever admitted. And that revelation is where everything changes. Part 3 will uncover the deepest confession they have carried in silence. And now we arrive at the confession they have hidden the longest. The one buried beneath pride, silence, and every excuse they ever used to keep their distance. Because when your soulmate finally opens their heart completely, this is what they are ready to admit. They never truly let you go. Not for one day. Not in the way they pretended. Not in the way they wanted others to believe. Even when they smiled in public. Part of them still carried your absence. Even when they acted unaffected. Part of them still wondered what life would feel like if they had chosen differently. Even when months passed in silence. Your name remained written somewhere deep within their thoughts. That is the truth they can no longer deny. You were not a chapter they forgot. You became the standard they compared everything else against. And that realization has changed them forever. Because they are now prepared to confess something even more vulnerable. No one else felt like you. No one else reached them the way you did. No one else unsettled their soul and calmed it at the same time. No one else reflected back the version of themselves they secretly wanted to become. They searched for your energy in other places. They looked for your depth in other conversations. They hoped another connection might create what existed with you. But it never happened. Because what existed between you was not ordinary attraction. It was recognition. Soul recognizing soul. Truth recognizing truth. Two people meeting at a depth neither was fully prepared for. And now they understand why forgetting you felt impossible. Because you were never meant to be forgettable. You were meant to transform them. You were meant to awaken something. You were meant to become the moment in their life they would forever measure everything against. That is why their return feels so intense. Because they are not coming back casually. They are coming back with the weight of realization. And here is the final confession. They are ready to tell you that losing you became the greatest regret of their life. Not because life collapsed without you. But because they now know how rare it is to meet someone who touches your spirit and your future at the same time. They understand now that people spend years, sometimes entire lifetimes, searching for what they had with you. And they let it slip through their hands. That awareness humbles a person. It softens them. It changes how they speak. How they love. How they return. So when they stand before you again, do not expect shallow words. Expect honesty. Expect emotion they once suppressed. Expect a version of them more open than before. They may tell you they were immature. They may tell you they were overwhelmed. They may tell you they thought they had more time. They may tell you they believed you would always be there. But underneath every explanation, the true message remains the same. I was not ready when I had you. And I have regretted that ever since. Take a breath and hear this carefully. Their return is not only about them. It is also about you. Because destiny is not simply asking whether they are ready now. It is asking whether you still want what once slipped away. People can return changed. They can return wiser. They can return more honest than before. But the heart that was hurt must still decide what it deserves. That is your power now. Not desperation. Not waiting. Not uncertainty. Power. Because while they were learning what your absence meant, you were becoming stronger. Wiser. Clearer. More aligned with your worth. So if they return, it will not be to the version of you they left behind. It will be to the version of you who survived the silence. The version who healed without answers. The version who discovered peace without closure. The version who no longer needs love to beg for itself. And perhaps that is the greatest twist of all. They may return expecting to find the same person, only to discover you have evolved into someone even more extraordinary. So when their confession arrives, when their truth finally spills into the open, when their heart stands before yours without armor, you will understand why this return was delayed. Not because the connection was false, but because both souls had lessons to learn before the timing could align. And now, the door opens again. The unfinished story returns to your hands. What happens next may shape the course of both your futures. Because sometimes the greatest love stories are not the ones that begin perfectly. They are the ones that survive distance, awaken through loss, and return when both hearts are finally ready. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of what comes after truth. And yet, the moment after truth is spoken may be the most powerful moment of all. Because confession alone does not change destiny. Words alone do not rebuild trust. Emotion alone does not heal what silence once wounded. What matters next is what they do after they confess. Your soulmate understands this now. They know they cannot return with beautiful words and expect the past to vanish. They know they cannot simply say, "I missed you," and erase the nights you questioned your worth. They know they cannot ask for your heart again without proving they have learned what losing it taught them. That awareness is why their next move will be different. This time, they are not returning to play with possibilities. They are returning with intention. No more half-effort. No more mixed signals. No more confusion disguised as complexity. Because when someone truly understands your value, their actions begin to match their feelings. Watch carefully. They will not just tell you they care. They will show consistency. They will not just say they changed. They will move differently. They will not just promise effort. They will become effort. That is how you will know this return is real. Not through dramatic speeches. Not through temporary intensity. Not through emotional moments that fade by morning. But through steady presence. Through honesty when honesty is uncomfortable. Through patience when rebuilding trust takes time. Through maturity where once there was avoidance. Because the deepest confession your soulmate can make is not spoken in a single sentence. It is demonstrated over time. It sounds like this. I am here now. And I am willing to do what I once failed to do. That is the energy surrounding this return. Not fantasy. Not illusion. Transformation. But listen closely, because this next truth matters more than everything before it. Do not confuse their return with an obligation to reopen the door immediately. You are not required to forget your pain simply because they are finally ready. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to observe. You are allowed to ask whether their transformation is genuine. Because growth is not proven by tears. It is proven by consistency. Let them show you. Let them reveal through time whether their return carries real depth. A healed heart does not rush. A wise heart watches. And if they truly are the person destiny intends for you, they will understand that trust rebuilt slowly is trust rebuilt correctly. They will not pressure you. They will not demand instant forgiveness. They will not rush what they once delayed. Instead, they will honor your healing. Because losing you taught them what impatience costs. And here is what may surprise you most. Their greatest fear is no longer rejection. Their greatest fear is disappointing you again. That fear will shape how they approach you. It will make them more careful, more intentional, more sincere. Because they know this may be their final opportunity. And people move differently when they know chances are no longer endless. So if their energy feels more grounded than before, if their words feel deeper than before, if their presence carries a humility it once lacked, it is because pain has refined them. Some lessons can only be learned through loss. If this message is reaching your heart right now, and part of you has felt someone returning energetically before they arrive physically, stay with this journey, subscribe if you want more messages like this, and share your thoughts below, because many are experiencing the same shift in silence. Now hear this final truth for today. Your soulmate's return is not simply about romance. It is about alignment. It is about two people who once met at the wrong stage of their growth, finding each other again after life has shaped them into stronger versions of themselves. Sometimes timing separates what love alone cannot sustain. But when timing changes, everything changes. So if they stand before you soon with trembling honesty in their voice, with truth in their eyes, with vulnerability where pride once lived, do not only listen to what they say. Listen to what their transformation reveals. Because the real confession may not be in their words at all. It may be in the fact that they came back different. And what happens after that reunion may become the chapter both of you remember for the rest of your lives. Part 5 will reveal what unfolds after the reunion, and why this second chance may become far more powerful than the first. And when the reunion finally happens, when the distance collapses, the silence breaks, and the two of you stand face to face again, do not expect the world to move in dramatic slow motion. Expect something quieter, something deeper, something far more unforgettable. Because the most powerful reunions rarely begin with chaos. They begin with stillness. A pause. A look held a second too long. An unspoken realization passing between two souls who understand that this moment was once only imagined in private. And in that silence, everything unspoken between you will be felt at once. The hurt, the longing, the memories, the lessons, the love that never fully disappeared. Your soulmate may struggle to find perfect words at first. Why? Because some emotions become too large for language. They may speak slowly. They may hesitate. They may look at you with the expression of someone who has replayed this moment in their mind 1,000 times but still feels unprepared for its reality. And then the truth of the reunion begins to unfold. You will notice they are not interacting with you the way they once did. There is more reverence in their energy now. More caution. More gratitude. More awareness of what your presence means. Because this is no longer the version of them who took your connection for granted. This is the version shaped by absence. And absence teaches value in ways comfort never can. But here is what makes this second chance so powerful. It is not built on fantasy. It is built on truth. The first connection may have been fueled by emotion, chemistry, and possibility. But this new chapter has the potential to be built on something stronger. Understanding. Because now both of you know what life feels like apart. Both of you know what silence costs. Both of you know what happens when fear leads instead of honesty. That awareness changes how love is handled. It makes people softer with each other. It makes communication deeper. It makes effort more intentional. And your soulmate will likely tell you something they never said before. That losing you forced them to become the person they should have been when they first had you. Think about that. Sometimes someone cannot become right for you until they first experience what life is like without you. That does not excuse the past, but it explains the transformation. And perhaps the greatest beauty of this reunion is that neither of you are who you were before. You have changed too. You no longer love blindly. You no longer ignore red flags for potential. You no longer confuse chemistry with commitment. You now understand your value at a deeper level. Which means this reunion is not about returning to the past. It is about building something new. With the wisdom the past gave both of you. That is why this second chance may feel more stable, more mature, more aligned than the first. Because now the connection is no longer running on potential alone. It is running on perspective. But do not miss this truth. Second chances become powerful only when both people respect what nearly got lost. That is the secret. Not just love. Awareness. Not just attraction. Accountability. Not just reunion. Readiness. And your soulmate is arriving with all three. Still, there remains one final phase of this story. One final revelation that explains why this connection had to break before it could truly become what it was meant to be. Because the separation was not merely pain. It was preparation. And once you understand why the universe allowed distance before reunion, you will never see the waiting season the same way again. Part 6 will reveal the hidden purpose behind the separation. And why everything may have unfolded exactly when it needed to. And now, the final truth. The truth most people never understand until much later. Until the waiting is over. Until the reunion happens. Until they can finally look backward and see the pattern hidden inside the pain. Here it is. The separation was never only about distance. It was about preparation. Because if this connection had continued the way it first began, with unhealed fears, unclear intentions, emotional immaturity, and timing that did not yet support the depth of what you shared, it may have collapsed completely. Not paused. Not delayed. Destroyed. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually life protecting something valuable. Until both people are ready to carry it correctly. Read that again. Not every delay is denial. Not every silence is rejection. Not every ending is final. Some separations happen because two souls meet before their growth has caught up with their destiny. And that is why this chapter had to unfold the way it did. Your soulmate needed to lose you to understand your worth. But you also needed the separation. Yes. Even if it hurt. Even if you cried through nights no one saw. Even if part of you questioned why something so meaningful had to become so uncertain. Because during that distance, you were being transformed too. You were learning how to stop shrinking for love. How to stop overgiving without reciprocity. How to stop accepting confusion where clarity should exist. You were learning that true love does not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. That lesson matters. Because had they returned before you learned it, you might have accepted the same version of them who once hurt you. But now? Now you can recognize the difference between apology and transformation. Between temporary emotion and lasting change. Between someone missing you and someone being ready for you. That is the real gift of the separation. Discernment. It sharpened your intuition. It strengthened your standards. It taught your heart to choose peace over fantasy. And that is why this reunion can be different. Not because destiny magically fixes everything, but because both of you have become wiser than the versions who first met. So when you look back one day, you may realize the delay was not punishment. It was refinement. It was life shaping two incomplete people into individuals capable of holding something deeper than what they first tried to build. And perhaps that is the hidden miracle of this entire journey. The heartbreak was not the destruction of your story. It was the editing of it. Removing what was immature. Burning away what was unstable. Exposing what needed healing. So that what returns can stand stronger than before. So if your soulmate has returned unexpectedly, if they now stand before you ready to confess everything they once hid, if the energy between you feels heavier, deeper, more honest than it ever has, understand what this moment truly means. This is not the return of the old connection. This is the birth of a new one. Between two transformed people who finally understand what they almost lost. And if both hearts choose wisely, what begins now may surpass everything that came before. Because some love stories are not written in straight lines. They are written in departures and returns. In lessons and awakenings. In timing that only makes sense once the whole story is seen. So lift your head. Trust what has changed in you. Trust what life has taught you. Trust that if someone returns carrying truth, humility, and transformed action, you will know. And if this second chance is meant to become your forever, it will be built not on fantasy, but on wisdom, on truth, on earned devotion. The story did not end when they left. It evolved. And now, the next chapter begins with both of you finally ready to write it well. The confession has been spoken. The reunion has arrived. The lesson has been learned. What comes next is the love that only awakened souls know how to keep.